By now, I hope that most of you have had the pleasure of meeting Elizabeth Plater-Zyberg. Many of us know her well by now. She and Joanna have been instrumental in so much of the planning work, starting with us as Peter brought them on board at St. Francis, and we've just gotten not only to know them, but to love them and to recognize their marvelous talent. Liz is the leader of the Charrette. She is the founding principal of the architectural firm Duane Plater-Zyberg, and she's also Dean of the School of Architecture at the University of Miami. So really, as Sister Anne-Marie noted in her invocation, this is truly an internationally world-class group of leaders to work with. They are absolutely, in my mind, one of the most brilliant firms I've seen doing this kind of work. So it is a delight, Liz, to welcome you back and to have you guide us through the planning and the design work and show us the work, or share with us the work that's been done so far. So would you please join me at the podium?
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to see you all here, and many of you back from prior visits that we've had together. This is about a 20 to 25 minute slideshow with words to describe it, and we know that the light might be a little bit difficult. You may want to move around so you can see the screens better, but I will try to describe the slides as best as I can. I would like to start with my own thank yous to a very large group of people who could not all be named that have made this possible. From the Bon Secours team, which includes the Bon Secours leaders, Michael Robinson and Peter Bernard, the sisters, the administrators, the volunteers, staff, everyone who has helped us here, and including the nurses and the doctors who come to us to talk about their needs. We also have, of course, as Michael said, a wonderful team that worked on pulling this information together, and I wonder if the design and consultant team would please all stand just so that you can see who the interlopers are who've been doing the work. So it looks like only a few people stood up because I think they're actually finishing drawings back in the studio, and some of them will be making a run for the airport at the end of this. But there will be some boards up in the other tent, I think, which they're going to bring over. And so many of the things that you will see flash by you on the screen will appear as pieces of paper on the board that you might take a longer look at later on. So Javier Iglesias is helping me with the slides, and let's start. We, of course, always start with the history of a place in an institution, and these, of course, are the images of the prior location of this hospital. Next. With a series of goals, which no doubt came with that move, but which have been augmented as you have grown in this location. These, in fact, are the two lists that we showed on the opening presentation, because we spoke to you Monday evening in the same place, but we'd already had several meetings, several days of meetings and work with both hospital administrators and surrounding county residents and government people. So these goals, I think I've just summarized them. I won't read them all, but it's really about, from the hospital's perspective, reflecting the Bon Secours character, as well as the community character, and being able to make improvements to the existing hospital, as well as include expansion plans. The community's suggestions were, you were all very supportive of this institution. You said, as a wellness advocate, There are a number of facilities that could expand the hospital's role in the community, including some space for education. And you always also talk about things like parking. So we have indeed addressed that, but we know what the issues are, I think, from that first meeting. Stormwater management is something that we need to work on. The green walking trail, which we've incorporated in the plans and so on. Go ahead. So, of course, the idea that there might be some component of local agriculture on the grounds. You might even see a farmer's market structure later on in the presentation. But we looked beyond the boundaries of the immediate area to try to understand the historic character of Hanover County. We were lucky to be staying in the Henry Clay Inn in Ashland. That was delightful. And we have a great admiration for that kind of historic aesthetic that exists here. Now, there are some design principles that we bring with us, and some of you left behind notes from the meetings which reinforced this idea that this might be a place of some great character and sense of community, at the heart of community, with a 5-minute walk, which is indeed the dimension of the campus. When we finalize the report, this 5-minute walk will include a small retail center, and there are some mixed uses, walkable streets, and civic places in the final plan, just as we set out to include. Next. I think many of you have heard us say that we understand that this location, which is at one end of Hanover County, in fact, serves an enormous area of residents in many counties, particularly to the north. We've heard about how busy your emergency room is, and how people travel long distances, and so having a place to spend the night, expanding the emergency room, those were all part of the ideas that came to us very early. Next. Within its own immediate vicinity, we understand that the highway interchanges, which are not only the one that's right here, but the two adjacent ones, are important locations for economic development for the county, and that even the other side of the highway from where we are is perceived as an area of growth, much of it indeed derived or driven by the kind of businesses that attach themselves to a hospital. Next. And then we do a number of, besides that kind of analysis of the surroundings, we do some comparative analysis for our own information. And what you see here is, in black, the footprint of existing buildings of the hospital, and superimposed on two, at the same scale, two places that are nearby. On the left is the Fan in Richmond, and so you can see that the hospital stretches across what virtually is 4 blocks of length in the Fan, and on the other side is downtown Ashland with the railroad running north-south, in which you can see, you know, that it's essentially even larger than Main Street in Ashland. Next. So here you see from an aerial the hospital, the existing condition of the buildings. It's hard to believe it's larger than that, smaller, I should say, than the interchange. We use so much land on highway interchanges, but that interchange is very important because that's where much of the traffic arrives from, and so directing the hospital's growth in such a way that it receives people from the east, from the interchange, is a very important part of this project. Next. There you see it closer up, and you can see the series of buildings that have aggregated around, with parking on the outside, around the core facilities of the hospital.